You're listening to Chapter 6 of The Day Evacuation Order Went Up, Aiko's 6 days before camp. This episode is part of Stories from Camp, a continuing series of World War II Japanese-American narratives told as quiet nighttime historical dramas. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and listen to the next chapter or the whole story on our YouTube channel or your podcast player if you'd like to hear more. Chapter 6. Packing the Unsaid. By the second day, the apartment turned into a landscape of half-filled boxes and open suitcases that never seemed to grow, no matter how carefully Aiko and her mother arranged their contents. Morning light filtered through the thin curtains in narrow bands, striping the floor in pale gold and making the dust motes drift like slow, tired snow. Aiko sat beside one of the suitcases with a stack of clothing folded to precise squares, the kind her mother always praised. Today the praise did not come. Today everything moved in silence. Her mother stood near the closet, measuring a wool coat against her own shoulders before folding it slowly, pressing the fabric flat with the weight of her palms. "It will be cold," she murmured, though she did not say when or where. They both knew the camp sat in places where desert winds or mountain frost swallowed warmth without mercy. The government didn't promise climate. It only promised barracks. Aiko reached for a blanket next. The weave felt thick under her hands, dotted with loose threads. She remembered pulling it when she was younger. She hesitated. The blanket took too much space. Her mother noticed the pause and shook her head gently. "We each take only one," she said. "Leave the others." Aiko folded the blanket anyway and placed it in the suitcase, knowing one felt impossible when she had no sense of what waited on the other side of departure. She tried again to rearrange the piles, sliding socks into corners, pressing shirts tight against the sides to create room that never appeared. The suitcase resisted every attempt at generosity. Her younger brother wandered into the room, rubbing his eyes, hair sticking up at odd angles. He looked at the piles, the boxes, the tightened expressions on both their faces. "Are we going on a trip?" he asked. His voice carried the innocent curiosity of someone who had not read a notice nailed to a pole. Aiko felt her throat constrict. Before she could answer, her mother guided him back toward the hallway with a gentle pat on his back. "We're preparing," she said. "Go wash your face." The room fell silent again as soon as he left. Aiko bent over the suitcase and added her mother's sewing kit, tucking it beneath the blanket. It was small, wrapped in cotton cloth, but it carried the weight of every repair her mother had ever made to keep their clothes presentable for school, church, or interviews. Aiko felt its importance without needing to say it out loud. Some items held more than function. On the far side of the room, her mother gathered a small bundle of letters tied with twine. She touched the top envelope with her fingertips, then placed the bundle carefully in the yes pile. Aiko recognized her father's handwriting from years earlier, written during the months he worked long hours opening the shop. Her mother slid the letters into a small wooden box and closed the lid quietly, as if sealing away something too delicate for the open air. They returned to folding. Each movement felt slower now, as though they were packing not only belongings but versions of themselves they weren't ready to let go of. The sound of their work filled the room, the whisper of fabric brushing against fabric, the soft click of a box closing, the steady rhythm of their breathing as they tried to avoid sinking into thought. Aiko noticed her mother pause when she reached a small silk pouch embroidered with faded chrysanthemums. Inside it were the 2 hairpins her grandmother had given her on her wedding day. Her mother held the pouch for a long moment, her eyes distant. Then she placed it in the no pile. "Why not take it?" Aiko asked quietly. Her mother shook her head. "Too delicate," she said. "Too much to worry about." Aiko could hear what went unsaid. Too much to risk losing. Too much to watch break in transit. Too much history for a place built without tenderness. The pouch returned to the floor like a fallen petal. The hours passed in that same quiet rhythm. Aiko felt the weight of every unspoken fear settle inside the room. Neither she nor her mother asked the questions circling their minds. What will the barracks look like? Will there be enough food? What if they separate us? Because the questions held no answers, only echoes. At midday her father came home briefly from the shop. He stepped into the room, surveyed the boxes, and let out a small sigh. His gaze lingered on the suitcase's half-packed interior, on the folded blanket and shirts pressed against the sides. "Good," he said. "You're doing good work." Aiko nodded, but the praise felt thin. Her father's eyes looked tired, as if he had aged a decade in a day. He squeezed her shoulder gently before returning to the shop, leaving the faint smell of oranges and dust in the doorway. When he left, Aiko sat back on her heels. The silence turned heavier than before, pressing against her ribs. Her mother lowered herself onto the tatami beside her and exhaled slowly, a long breath that marked the limit of her endurance for the day. "We may lose things," her mother said softly. "We don't lose who we are." Aiko looked at the open suitcase, at the uneven stacks of their life squeezed into corners. She didn't know if her mother's promise held truth or hope. She only knew she wanted to believe it. The late afternoon light slipped across the floor as they returned to their work. The room felt changed, stripped of softness, rearranged into something temporary. Aiko moved a shirt into place, smoothing the fabric with both hands. No one said it aloud, but they both felt it. The house had begun letting go of them long before they finished letting go of it. Thank you for listening to Chapter 6 of the day. The evacuation notice went up. This episode is part of Stories from Camp, a continuing series of Japanese-American narratives told as quiet, nighttime historical dramas. If you like this narrative storytelling, please subscribe and listen to the next chapter or the whole story on our YouTube channel, or your podcast player if you'd like to hear more. You can explore the rest of the library on our channel. And if you're a storyteller or creator who wants to collaborate with us, you can reach out anytime at redressradio.com.